Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist, and today I'm going to be doing a Flower Cardian deck profile. So this deck is a really interesting deck that I've never seen any other deck function like this. It basically summons 5 Flower Cardians on your side of the field, and then synchro summoning for the Light Flare or Light Shower or any of the Flower Cardian synchro monsters. It's a really interesting deck that basically makes one big boss monster and hopes for the best. So anyways guys, this is DarkArmedDuelist. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can become part of the notification squad, and don't forget to check out the Ko-Fi down in the description and the Patreon. So you guys want to donate to the channel, definitely check those out. So let's get straight on this. So first off, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Flower Cardian Pine. So Flower Cardian Pine is, if this card is normal summon, is probably one of the only normal summons you're going to actually do in this deck. So what it does is when it's normal summon, you get to draw a card and then show it and then send it to the graveyard unless it was a Flower Cardian monster. You can only use the effect of Flower Cardian Pine once per turn, and if this card is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, or if this card ends in your possession as destroyed by an opponent's card effect, you can set and send to the graveyard, you get to draw a card. So, really good card, basically the starter of the deck. Flower Cardian Cherry Blossom with Curtain is another really good starter card. It cannot be normal summoned or set. It must be special summoned by its own effect, and you can reveal this card in your hand to draw a card, and if you do, show it to your opponent. A lot of the Flower Cardians share that ability that you reveal a card, show it to your opponent, and then if it's a Flower Cardian, you special summon this card from your hand. Which is really good. And then if it's not a Flower Cardian, then you send this card to the graveyard. And then during either player's damage step, when a Flower Cardian monster battles an opponent's monster, you can just discard this card, and the battling monster gains 1,000 attack until the end phase of the turn, which is pretty good. Then we play 3 copies of the Flower Cardian Clover with Boar. Clover with Boar is a good one as well. I love how it's Boar Soldier. Like, you can actually see like Easter eggs in this entire like archetype of other monsters, which is really cool. It can't be normal summoned or set. It must be special summoned by tributing another Flower Cardian monster. And then if this card is special summoned, you get to draw a card and show it to your opponent. Then if it's a Flower Cardian, you destroy one monster your opponent controls. Otherwise, send it to the graveyard. Then we play 3 copies of Maple with Deer. Maple with Deer is another really good Flower Cardian monster that basically has the same thing as Boar with Clover or Clover with Boar. You get to draw a card, and if you do, show it to your opponent, and then you destroy a spell or trap instead of destroying a monster. Then we play 3 copies of Zebragrass. Zebragrass is a good one as well. That basically has the ability that if this card is normal or special summoned, you get to reveal any number of Flower Cardian monsters in your hand, shuffle them in the deck, and then draw the same number of cards from your deck, which kind of helps you dig through the deck as well. But then you can only special summon this card while you control a level 7 or lower Flower Cardian monster. Then you can just instantly special summon this card from your hand. Then we play 3 copies of Flower Cardian Willow. Flower Cardian Willow is a really good Flower Cardian monster that has the ability that when you control a level 7 or level 10 or lower Flower Cardian monster, you can special summon this card from your hand. And also, you cannot normal summon or set monster, or you cannot normal or special summon monsters for this turn except for Flower Cardian monsters. But then once per turn, you can target a Flower Cardian monster in your grave, shuffle it in the deck, and then draw another card. So this deck is basically focused around just drawing cards. Then we play 3 copies of Flower Cardian Paloin. Paloin is another really good one that basically has the ability that if you have a level 11 or lower Flower Cardian, you can special summon this card from your hand. And then it also has the ability that when this card is targeted for an attack, you can negate the attack in the battle phase and then draw a card, which is really good to be able to negate the battle phase. Now you're probably seeing all these Flower Cardians and going, wow, that's a lot of levels. How am I going to synchro for a level 10? Well, don't worry about that. The tuner monster that we're playing in here, which is Flower Cardian Panoa and Butterfly, which is our tuner monster, it's really easy to make this card work. Basically, it cannot be normal summoned or set. It must be special summoned from your hand by tributing another Flower Cardian monster. And then, if this card is special summoned, you get to draw a card, and if you do, show it to your opponent. If it's a Flower Cardian monster, look at the top 3 cards of your deck, and if your opponent, and then place them on top of your deck in any order, otherwise send them to the graveyard. And then when this card is used for a synchro material, you can treat all other monsters on your side of the field as level 2. So it really helps out with that, being able to kind of level manipulate you into any of your other Flower Cardian monsters. So basically it's this plus 4 other Flower Cardians to go into this plus 3 other Flower Cardians to go into this one, 2 other Flower Cardians to go into this one, and then 2 other Flower Cardians to go into Moon Flowing View. So it just depends on what you want to go for in this deck. So basically, you can special summon the majority of these for free, except for Tributing and Flower Cardian sometimes. But that's pretty much it for all the monsters. Let's get into the spells. The reason we're playing so many monsters is because you really want to go into all those other cards, or really draw into a Flower Cardian card. Then we play 1 copy of Rhoda because you really want to get the level 1 monster as quickly as possible. 3 copies of Flower Gathering. Flower Gathering is a really good card to be able to go into Light Flare. You can special summon 4 Flower Cardian monsters with 100 attack and different names from your deck in attack position, but they have their effects negated, and also they cannot be tributed for the tribute summon of a monster. And you can only activate this card once per turn, and you cannot normal or special summon monsters the turn you activate this card, except for Flower Cardians, which that works out because we don't play anything but Flower Cardians. 3 copies of Recarnation. 3 copies of Recarnation is really good in here because you can target a Flower Cardian monster in your grave and add it back to your hand. Then you can special summon a Flower Cardian monster from your hand, ignoring its summoning conditions. And if this card is sent to the graveyard by a Flower Cardian monster's effect, you can excavate the top 5 cards of your deck. And if you do, you get to add 1 excavated spell or trap from your deck to your hand, placing the rest on top of your deck in any order. So it helps you stack your deck to be able to go into all your other monsters. So that's the really cool thing, is you don't have to worry about the spells that much because you're going to be able to stack the deck to be able to go into as many Flower Cardians as you need to. Speaking of stacking, we play 3 copies of Flower Stacking. Like, it literally says it in the name that you're going to stack the deck to be able to go into what you need to. So you choose 3 Flower Cardian monsters with different names in your deck and place them on top of your deck in any order. And then during your main phase, except the turn this card was sent to the grave, you get to banish those cards from your graveyard to target 1 Flower Cardian monster in your grave and add it back to your hand, which is really good to be able to do. Then we play 3 copies of Super Koi Koi. Super Koi Koi lets you excavate the top 3 cards of your deck, and then special summon as many Flower Cardian monsters among them as possible, ignoring their summoning conditions, but their levels all become 2, and they have their effects negated. Then you banish the remaining cards face down, and if you do, you lose 1,000 life points for each. You can banish this card from your graveyard, and then tribute a monster on your side of the field, special summon a Flower Cardian monster from your hand, ignoring its summoning conditions, which is really, really good to be able to summon something like the Butterfly, to be able to synchro summon. Then, we don't want to get hand trapped because we're drawing so much in this deck, and you don't want to break combo, so you do play the 3 copies of Called by the Grave. I thought about playing Super Poly in this deck because they're all darks, but that is a good side deck option to play Super Poly in this deck, or Allure of Darkness if you don't feel like you're drawing enough, which I feel like you're going to draw enough in this deck anyways. That's why I didn't play Allure of Darkness. I play test this deck in a lot in solitaire it, so I feel like you're going to draw enough in this deck when you're playing it. But Super Poly is another option to be able to go into because it just helps to go on your opponent's turn, diffuse away one of your low attack point Cardian monsters to go into like Starving Venom and have a little bit more of an offense in this deck. But I didn't know really what I wanted to drop, so I might drop something like Reinforcements of the Army and then maybe side out maybe the 3 Called by the Graves. I don't know. That is options for you guys depending on how you're matching up with your opponents. So that's it for the main deck. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we're going to be playing 2 copies of Flower Cardian Light Flare. Light Flare is a really good 5,000 attack point monster that has the ability that it takes 5 monsters to summon a tuner and 4 other monsters. Once per turn during either player's turn, when your opponent activates a spell or trap, you can negate the activation if you destroy that card, and if a Flower Cardian monster you control battles an opponent's monster, that opponent's monster has its effects negated during the battle phase only. And if this card is synchro summoned, is destroyed by opponent, by battle, or by battle, how are you going to kill this thing by battle? Or leaves the field because of an opponent's card effect while in owner's possession, you can special summon 1 Flower Cardian synchro monster from your extra deck except another copy of itself, which can be something like Light Shower. Light Shower is the one I usually go for the most because it has its effect of skipping your next draw phase. In this card, it also inflicts 1,500 points of damage to your opponent, which is really, really good. And then once per turn during your opponent's end phase, you activate one of these effects. You either skip your next draw phase, or this card has its own effects negated until the end phase of your opponent's next turn, or an end phase of your opponent's next standby phase, which is really not that big of a deal. 2 copies of Boardyfly. You don't make Boardyfly that much. I don't really like this one because if a Flower Cardian monster attacks, you inflict piercing damage, and then it also has the ability that you can banish Flower Cardian from your graveyard, and then until the end phase of your opponent's next turn, you cannot activate cards or effects in that graveyard. It's good for shutting your opponent down, but I don't really make this one that much. And then Moonflower Viewing. Moonflower Viewing is sometimes I make this one. I rarely make her, but it's an option. Once per turn during your main phase, you can draw a card, and if you show it to your opponent in Flower Cardian monster, you special summon, ignoring summoning conditions, and it can attack your opponent directly this turn. And if this card is activated, the effect skip the draw phase of your next turn. And then when this card is synchro summon, material is treated as a monster. You can treat all monsters as level 2. It's a good synchro monster to be as a tuner, but I don't make her that often. I usually just make Light Flare or Light Shower. I don't make these two that much. One copy of Bulbasaur because you can link into it. One copy of Unicorn to bounce stuff. Phoenix to pop spells and traps. Cerberus to pop monsters as options there for you guys. And then 2 copies of Wee Witch because everything's dark in the deck. So it's really easy to make your cards go up in attack points. To be able to make your monsters go up a little bit. Light Shower is actually a dark, so you can actually make a 6,000 attack point monster if you make 2 of these. But I really, even going into Master Rule 5, these are still good because you can still make them and have a little bit of utility. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you enjoyed this Flower Cardian deck profile. It's an interesting deck. Probably one of the only ones of its kind. It was used during Arc V, which was an interesting era for cards, but it's kind of weird to me. It's fun though. I would try it. So anyways, guys, this is DarkArmedDuelist. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell in there so you can become part of the notification squad, and I'll see you guys in the next video. See you around, guys.